Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live. Hi, my name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And I am excited, yes, every Saturday. Actually, every day, especially when I'm discussing one of my favorite subjects, which is the philosophy espoused by Napoleon Hill in this phenomenal book called Think and Grow Rich. And I'm often reminded of the story when Andrew Carnegie asked Napoleon Hill during an interview if he would be willing to take 20 years of his life and create and research the philosophy of success of all of the individuals living during their time who were extremely successful in different walks of life. If he would be willing to take 20 years of his life and do the research, but Carnegie said, but I will not pay you a dime. Now, this is the power of the imagination principle we're discussing today. And I'd like for each of you to ask yourself the same question. Would you be willing to take 20 years? How about 10? 5? How about a year of your life to research the philosophy of success and the power of your own mind, and how does it work? How do you use your imagination to create that which you desire? You see, the imagination, we are told, is actually the workshop of your mind. It is also, in this book, the 5th step to riches. And when you think about riches and the power of your mind, I like to focus on the ideas that we all receive all the time. But what are we doing with those ideas? Are we acting on the ideas? Well, of course, I would be remiss if I continued this conversation without sharing with you our co-hosts. Today, we're talking about the power of your imagination, and we're speaking with our co-host, none other than Galen Bingham. Good morning, Mr. Bingham, and Dr. Peter James. Good morning, both of you. How are you both this morning?
Good morning, Ann McNeil. Excited to dive into your imagination there, Ann McNeil. As I look to empower my life, my career, my business, I want to have Ann McNeil's imagination help me. So I'm also just excited to dive into this conversation. We have a very special guest, and we're going through this book month by month, each chapter, each principle. I feel like I say every single month, this is one of my favorites, but I have to say, Ann, this is also one of my favorite chapters, my favorite principles, because we don't tap into our imagination, our ideas, as we were talking about before the show, enough. We don't do it enough. We don't give ourselves space, the time, the quiet space. Real quick, I was at a graduation last night, and I had time to sit and think and write during the graduation. And it was phenomenal. I got so much accomplished. I was so excited. I felt like it was such a productive day.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And we also have Mr. Galen Bingham, but we also, while Galen is coming on, we also want to remind everybody about our special guest today. We're going to talk about her in a moment, Mr. Sean Wynn. But Galen Bingham, good morning to you this morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. This is going to be an incredible conversation. We always struggle with how do we get our pre-conversation actually on air. That's always a challenge for us. And our pre-conversation, we're talking about how your success is limited only by your level of imagination, your level of your ability to act on your imagination. And what are those things that are communicating even subconsciously to your imagination? And how can you make sure that you're purposely putting those things in your imagination that are going to be profitable to you? So I can't think of anyone better to discuss this topic than our guest, Deshaun Wynn. She's doing amazing things, and we're going to be talking about that as well. Can't wait to get into this conversation.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring on our phenomenal guest this morning. Good morning, Deshaun. How are you this morning? Deshaun Wynn, good morning. So a little bit about Deshaun as she's coming on. Deshaun has more than 30 years of experience in the meeting and event industry. And Deshaun, you listen, I'm not sure what you're using, but it is working for you, because I thought you were only about 30, 32. But anyway, she has
Started when I was one.
she has she has executed events for education, nonprofit, corporate, religious, and government agencies. And in 2010, Deshaun established Winning Touch Event Design, a company that specializes in strategic planning and content design. And I would like to suggest, Deshaun, in knowing you just for a few months now, that your imagination has had a lot to do with that. So welcome to the podcast this morning. How are you this morning?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. We'd like for you to share with us. Now, I have your bio. We know about where you are right now, and that you graduated, from Pepperdine University with a BS degree in science degree in business administration. But how did you get here in terms of your journey? Can you take us back a little bit and share with us a little bit about your story? I mean, where you grew up, how did you come into this particular industry that your business is in? And then I'd like for you to share, what was your first introduction to this book, this philosophy?
Sure. So again, Deshaun Wynn, I live in Los Angeles, California, originally from San Diego. And it's so funny when I think about my career, because I did not set out to be a meeting and event planner. I really was, I did think at a younger time that I wanted to be a wedding planner, or I wanted to work in a hotel. I did an internship in college and realized that hotel management was not for me. So I quickly eliminated that. And after that, while I was in college, my mindset just shifted to, I need to get a job. I need to pay the bills. I'm about to graduate. What am I going to do? And so my first job out of college actually came from a professor whose wife worked for a nonprofit, and he was like, do you need a job? She needs some help. So I was like, yes, I'm about to graduate, need to pay the bills. So for the next few years, that's kind of the way my career went. It wasn't a designated path. It was just a matter of let me pay my bills. And it wasn't until I was in between jobs and my college roommate was helping me to do my resume. And on the objective line, she put, to utilize my 16 years of meeting and event planning skills. And I thought about it. I was like, that is what I do. Like, that is what I've been doing for the past 16 years. I am a meeting planner. I never had that that job title, but every job that I have been in, unconsciously, from college to that moment, had some element of bringing people together, putting together events, putting together conferences. Even from college, I worked in the wedding chapel. And it wasn't that I sought out a wedding chapel job. I just needed to pay the bills. So it's changed my mindset when I kind of saw how my life was unfolding. And then that's when I set out to actually understand this was my skill set. This is what I thrived at. This is what I was good at. And in 2010, I started Winning Touch Event Design, set out on my own to start my own company. And when it comes to this book and how the mastermind concept what's also very interesting is I had not read the book until last year, but I had heard of the mastermind concept and I knew about the mastermind concept. And at different times throughout my career, I would pull people together to form masterminds because I needed that help. I needed that because sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, it can be a very lonely time. And I wanted that extra support along the way. So throughout my career, I have pulled people together to just say, hey, let's hold each other accountable. Let's go through careers together. But it wasn't until last year when I went to the National Speakers Association conference Influence, and I met Black NSA, and I learned about the $1 Million Mastermind Group. That's when I got into the book and I started reading the book and realizing again just how life had unfolded in a way that was not necessarily planned or that I had put an initial plan in.
Wow. Wow. And how is that working for you?
I love it. It's the best thing I've ever done. I love what I do. I love working with my clients, and they come to me with ideas, with concepts, that wanting a conference or wanting to have a meeting, and being able to sit down with them and develop a strategy and to develop a plan. I love it.
All right. All right. All right. Well, we are going to prepare. Thank you for that. We're going to prepare to share how these principles come together. And we're going to ask Galen Bingham if he would prepare us and share with us the 13 principles and his thoughts.
Yeah, so this is as our guest has been talking about, this is an incredible philosophy, and any of these principles in and of themselves make for incredible conversation. That's what we do on a weekly basis. But the real power of this is how they all work together. So with that, take a listen to this video and think to yourself about how this all stacks together and how you may be able to achieve success by applying them yourself.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. it's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, Galen.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I really, really love how this imagination chapter and principle really separates the idea between synthesized creative imagination and synthetic imagination. And one of the things that we were talking about before the show, and I'd love for you to get into that conversation with Deshawn, is how she uses imagination in order to acquire the knowledge that she needs. Because I love when you were talking about the use of the mastermind, that we all have a certain amount of knowledge, but when it comes to running a business in particular, you've got to tap into the knowledge and the wisdom of the people that are around you, and that's when this chapter of imagination really comes alive.
I agree. I think in 2020 with the pandemic, it really became real for me that I don't have to be an expert at everything because my industry was pretty much shut down. Everybody was moving to digital events and digital webinars, and I have a really good friend who also is an event planner who is based in Canada. And she loves digital events and she thrives off of digital events. Digital events give me ulcers. And so it was working with her where the two of us decided to come together and work together in partnership, because the part of the event industry that I love is logistics and the planning and the strategy side. And the part that she loves is the digital side. And so I tease her because I was like, I never want to learn about another app again. Like, that is all you. So again, it's, utilizing people and people at their best, at what they do best, at what they are wired to do. And we don't have to be the experts at everything. It's utilizing those who are put in your life. And I think that's what the mastermind concept is about.
Fantastic. Peter, I see you nodding your head, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this chapter. Thank you so much, Deshawn, for joining us as we unpack this imagination in our own lives. In the text, Napoleon Hill states, the only limitation is that which one sets up in one's own mind. He goes on to say, God seems to throw himself on the side of people who know exactly what they want if they are determined to get just that. But here's the challenge, Deshawn. I would love to hear how this might have looked like, what this might have looked like in your life. You know, we as human beings, we put limitations on ourselves. No, I can't do that. No, that's not for me. I wouldn't step into that. You know, it's just, we really put ourselves inside of a box, for lack of a better word. I would love to hear how you have been able to step into your greatness, maybe what you've been able to, what you've had to overcome from an imagination perspective, or even just from an opening up perspective to say, hey, I can do that. I can start this business, or I can do something else. What comes to mind initially?
I think that limiting our imagination comes from fear, and it's overcoming those fears. It's surrounding yourself with people who, when you are not feeling your best, or when you're not feeling comfortable or as secure, people who are letting you know that you can do it, which again is the mastermind process, is, you know, surrounding yourself with people who can keep you going. And, you know, this is my 13th year in business, and it has not been an easy road. But that is where I have relied on friends. I have relied on, you know, clients and colleagues, and surrounding myself with organizations people who, again, understand what it is that I'm going through. And being a part of organizations like Black NSA, like Meeting Professionals International, where I can be in a space with people where I can get inspiration from. Because I think every time I go to a networking event, or every time I'm in the room with other people who are doing the same thing that I do, you get that feeling, that inspiration, and you leave just a little bit, you know, more feeling more powerful than when you came in the room. So I definitely think that not staying in your silo, and not staying in your little box, and having your pity party by yourself, I think that's a key.
That is so huge. But so many of us continue just to put our heads down and do things by ourselves. Thank you so much for reminding us that we have to step out into a mastermind type of environment, or at the very least around others who are like-minded or on the same trajectory, which is why I hang out with Galen Bingham and Ann McNeil every single week. They don't know I'm being selfish. Ann McNeil, back to you.
All right. Listen, we want to give a shout out to everybody that's chiming in on YouTube. We have Trudy, Beeman, Doretha, Colette Coleman, so many of you. Thank you. And of course, we can't forget, in the Zoom room, we have Donnelly Ferguson. So if any of you would like to participate in questions, just please put your questions in the chat, and we will ask Trudy. Actually, Trudy said she's glad Deshawn feels empowered around others in her space, rather it intimidating by competitors. And thank you for that, Trudy, because you tapped into the question I have next. My question is, can you share with us a struggle, a challenge, or problem, Deshawn, that you have had or are currently having, that you're able to use either creative or synthetic imagination in solving that challenge or problem? And I think the one you just explained about coming together with a friend,
Yes.
first thing came to my mind was synthetic imagination, because you have the two coming together, forming now a business. But can you share with us another challenge or struggle that you're using this principle to overcome?
When I was reading this chapter, one of the things that I thought about, and I think that as a society, we've kind of become a society of let's use our imagination as little as possible. It's a matter of, let me create something that is cookie cutter, that's, rinse and repeat, everything from dinner in a box to, just everything is kind of packaged to be easy. And I think the same thing happens when it comes to my field in meetings and events and designing conferences is, you have those conferences where every year after year, it's the same concept. We on the first day, we're going to do this. On the second day, we're going to do this. And it just becomes, again, wash and repeat, because that's easy. We find this winning scenario and we just keep doing it. But I think that, one of the things in the book, it talked about how if you don't use your imagination, you lose it, or it's a muscle and you have to continue to use it to build it. And I think that that is where I try to focus on is nothing should be cookie cutter. Like, just because it worked this year, that means that the next year we need to do something different. We need to look at a different strategy. How is this concept going to change? And either in the design, the focus, the theme, getting out of that mentality of it's always been this way, so let's keep doing it that way. I think that is just a struggle of all of us, because everybody likes life easy. Nobody really likes change. So if I find something that works, let's go with it. And imagination takes you out of your comfort zone. When you get that idea, again, as a meeting professional, it's my job to find all the ways an event can go wrong and develop a risk management plan to make sure those things don't happen. But again, it's like when you're in the process of imagination, when you get that inspiration, you have to act upon it, and that can be a very scary thing to do. And it's just having that trust in yourself that I can do this. Let's go for it, and not being scared to fail. I think that is the biggest challenge, is not being scared to fail.
Good stuff there, Deshawn. Ann McNeil, we had a question in the chat that, and we talk about it so much that sometimes we don't even think about the differences of imagination. And real question for you, actually, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. The difference between synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Would love to hear it in your own esteemed words.
I have a favorite example. I always use the same one, but it's my favorite. When you think about when I think about synthetic imagination, I love circus, I love ballet. And it wasn't until I went to Vegas and actually experienced Cirque du Soleil that I really got the picture of an example of synthetic imagination, where you take two different ideas and then you create a third idea. You take two different products and you create a third different product. So for me, back eons ago when I saw that, I read a book, I think it was called Blue Ocean Strategy, something like that. And it talked about this concept of synthetic imagination. So what I did was, from reading the book, watching that, and just asking myself, what does it look like in my life? I then created from my imagination my construction company, which was an idea, my consulting company, which was second, which was an idea, and just journaling every day. And like Deshawn said, moving on the inspiration of ideas. Out of that came a third idea, which was my speaking business, which is another product. And so again, for me, the creative imagination, right here, is where you receive inspiration from the spirit, or whatever you want to call it. And it is something that is creative in nature from ideas. And I think you may have just set me up because I didn't know whether or not I was going to use this. But if you would indulge me for a moment, all of you, since he did ask this question, and Deshaun, I talked about this morning. I take a walk every morning, and this morning, in preparation for this, after reading the chapter, I started thinking back to this whole concept of ideas and how ideas are the beginning of everything. As a part of my Clarity Mastermind group, we focus each month on a different area of our life. And this month is education. So part of my education goal for myself, as a part of my Clarity Mastermind that I do on a daily basis, I decided to watch a different video every day, just a random video. And so if I can get all of your permission, I'd like to share what I watched this morning, which is not a good idea since I did not cue it up. I'll leave it and I'll tell you what it says. I'll tell you what it says. It was actually from Dr. Miles Monroe. First click was Miles Monroe and his YouTube video talking about ideas. And I actually went back and I wrote down what he said. He said, God's big ideas, the power of ideas. And this is just for me, I'm going back to your question about an example of synthetic, an example of creative. So to me, this was a creative idea that I received from the universe in response to something that I was desiring. And it was so powerful. He said, nothing on earth is more powerful than an idea. Ideas produce everything. He said, first there was an idea, and then he took us to John 1, where John 1, many of us know or may remember that John 1 says that in the beginning was the Word. But when you study the word, the other meaning of the word is logos. Now, I did not know that logos, the original interpretation of that word, logos, is ideas expressed. Ideas expressed, expression of an idea. And so coming back to your question, and thank you for the question, Dr. James, this concept is so powerful. And I was sharing, for me, it's like an onion that continues to just unpeel. So those are the two for me: creative imagination and synthetic imagination. And from the creative, and I wrote this book called A Daily Date with Myself, from my creative imagination, if you will, and inspiration. So those would be my two examples of synthetic and
Love that. Thank you so much for the clarification. Sometimes, I'll read it directly from the book and it won't be as creative as your definition. I also like to think about it from the synthetic. We think about Uber did not create a service. They brought together the taxi service and an app. And now we hail it almost every time we want to go somewhere. Deshaun, we're coming right back to you for sure. And then we'll pull Galen on in it. What might have synthetic or creative imagination look like for you in your career, especially around your business, as you're doing great things in your business? We'd love to hear, even just remotely, what that might have looked like for you.
So as far as synthetic imagination is really taking concepts or event design principles in terms of we know how people learn, we know how we know the concepts of putting together a meeting, food and beverage, venue, things like that. So we know the pieces, but it's taking those pieces and putting them together in a different way and putting it together in a different way each time. So it's again, something that, a concept that's already there, or a concept that you're building on from a previous conference or somebody else's ideas, and working in collaboration, collaborating with other people who are part of the event design process, who are the stakeholders in the meeting, and how are you guys coming together to, because everybody goes to events and meetings for a different purpose. Everybody has a different purpose for why they're attending and what they want to walk away from. So taking everybody's ideas and putting them together and creating this new concept is I think would be an example of the synthetic imagination. And then again, when it comes to the creative and inspiration and having those insights and those hunches, though, I think those are the things that wake you up in the middle of the night, where it's like, you have that light bulb moment of, this is the way we want to do it, and this is the way we want to plan. So I think that it's also a matter of being open to looking at what's around you. I think that's part of what's special about Anne's story that she just shared is she wasn't necessarily seeking a video this morning that was going to talk about imagination, but she was in tuned enough and she was open enough that when it was presented to her, she was able to relate to it, and she was able to bring it into what it is that she is working on. And I think that is the other key component is we actually just have to be open and ready to receive whatever is coming our way as far as inspiration.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just got a question in the chat, put the video in the chat. So if it's okay, I did go ahead and find it. So if it's okay, can I share it, right? Oh, that's right, I'm hosting.
Idea.
Not sure if you can hear that.
Let me begin with a few statements, and our tech people will help me with this if you pick up in this session. I want to talk about the power of ideas. We talk about God's big idea. I want to have you write down a few things. God's big idea. There's nothing on earth more powerful than an idea. Nothing on earth is more powerful than an idea. Please write that down. Ideas produce everything. Ideas produce everything. The chair that you're sitting on was first an idea. The shoe on your feet was first an idea. This building we are in was first an idea. The suit on your back, the dress you're wearing, was first an idea. This conference was first an idea. And your being here, sitting in the conference, was first an idea in your mind. Everything on earth is a product of ideas. That leads me to point number 3. Everything began as an idea. Everything. Here's a principle, number 4. Ideas produce everything. That's how powerful they are. We don't think much about the concept of idea, but idea is the source of everything. They're powerful.
All right.
Number 5, ideas are more powerful than death.
I'm going to go ahead and stop there. We can go ahead and just come back. I just wanted to share that because I think that when we, and you hit it on the head, Deshaun, oh my goodness, when you talked about not acting on the inspirations, and the inspirations come from the ideas, and the ideas come from either the creative or synthetic imagination. This is such a powerful principle that oftentimes I think in each of our lives, we don't realize whatever we're seeking is seeking us. Now, last Saturday, I showed a picture. I went to a funeral, and for those of you that may follow me, I do a inspirational repost from the book Up My Utmost for His Highest. And I'm at the funeral, I'm at the gravesite. I look down at my feet, and I'm standing right at the Oswald Chambers headstone. How do these things happen? They happen to each and every one of us every single day. I would challenge all of us, like Deshaun is saying, begin to act on them. But first of all, get in tune with the infinite so that you are more mindful and aware and consciousness of what's happening around you. And then journal it, write it down, because then when you go through challenges and problems and obstacles, and this will come back to you, Deshaun, tap into your own creative imagination and be open to receive what is sending you. That broadcasting and receiving station of the brain is receiving and sending inspirations, but are we conscious enough to stop for a moment? So can you share with us a moment that you received an inspiration, that you stopped for a moment, Deshaun, and you acted on it? May not make sense to everybody else, but you felt in your gut that I'm supposed to do this right now.
When you were talking about the journaling, I was introduced to something called future journaling years ago. And I've really been trying to apply that. So it's when I have a goal, I sit down and I write out a journal entry as if it's happened. And I write it as if it's that day and it's the end of my day. And I put the imagery to it. I put the feeling to it, and I just write out everything that I'm feeling and seeing and the whole concept of it. And when I started doing that, I was amazed at how, like you said, it starts to seek you out, and you start to see what it is that you put on that piece of paper. And I think that has given me a bit more of the confidence, because again, we don't act on our inspirations because we're scared of failing. And
say it again. Whoa. So repeat. Say that. I gotta write that down.
We don't act on our inspirations because we're scared of failure, and we're scared of failing, and we don't we want to be right. But when you start to see how acting on inspiration gets you to where you want to be, and you start to recognize that if you move and you act, that these things come into your life, you start to build that courage to step out, and the fear lessens, and you can walk in it. And so again, the future journaling has really been amazing to me. It's really been a helpful tool that I've been able to use.
Now, I know this is not the Ann and Deshaun show, but we're just going to act like it, because you are stepping all on my feet. That is what I call in my journal, in my daily date to myself book, I call it the desires of my heart. This is what I'm desiring in the future.
Exactly.
And then I'm learning to go back and say thanks. So Galen, I see your head going up and down. That's our cue.
Yeah, one of the things that I was drawn to is there's this video of Will Smith, and Will Smith is saying that all great people have to have this delusional quality about them, where they have to imagine that something is possible that's never ever happened before. And I'm taken to the text where Napoleon Hill says that before you can see money or wealth in your bank account, you must first see it in your mind, and you have to believe it to be true. So very similar to the question you just answered, what's a time when You just had this idea, and everything around you said that that's not possible. Everyone around you said that that's not possible, but you just said, I don't care if it's possible or not, we're going to make this thing happen because there's something in my shanana that says that this is supposed to happen. When was a time when people might have confused you for being delusional because you stuck with it so long?
2010, starting my business in the middle of a recession. And it's so funny because to this day, if you ask my mom, I still don't think she clearly understands what I do. So, it's a matter of I knew in my gut and in my heart that this was right for me. I always said I don't quite make a good employee. So I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me. And so I will never forget when I went and registered my company and registered my business, and I stepped back on the elevator, and it hit me. I was like, "You're about to do this. Like, this is what you're about to do." And again, those sometimes being an entrepreneur can be an extremely lonely experience because people don't understand, and people, when you hit those rust spots, the first thing is like, go get a job, like, you don't have to be here. So just continuing and sticking it through, and 13 years later, I'm still here and thriving and loving what I do. So it's that determination, and it's also because the other thing that the book talks about is just being decisive and making the decision, and once you make the decision, sticking with it and pushing through despite what you're hearing from other people.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great example. Most entrepreneurs do have to be a little crazy.
Very much so.
Peter, I think you could probably relate to this not being a very good employee. What thoughts do you have?
Oh my goodness, that's the story of my life there, Galen, not being a good employee. But I love everything that Deshaun's talking about. I actually just captured that quote that Deshaun made. We don't act on our inspirations because we are scared of failure. That is a Deshaun-ism now, for sure. But so much of what you said has really riveted me to a certain extent, and I love these types of conversations, and I even love having this type of mastermind because we always need that reset, that start over to say, hey, okay, here's what we know, here's what we need to remind ourselves of. One of the ways, Galen, that I have an annual reset is by going to our annual accountability meeting on a regular basis. And for those of you who have never been, don't even know what I'm talking about, every year in January, I am able to surround myself with like-minded individuals who will hold me accountable for the goals that I am trying to achieve for, in this case, as you see here, for 2024. But they also ask me to reflect on my life, my journey, even my 2023, to say, hey, so that I can, this is more for me, excuse me, than it is for anybody else. I can reflect and say, oh, wow, I'm thankful for what I've accomplished. I'm thankful for what I've done, but I have so much more to do as well that I would like to do also. And this accountability meeting allows us to be able to come together, create our vision boards, create our journals, create our maps, our journey maps for the future, as Deshaun was saying, our future journaling, so that we can step on into our greatness. For those of you who have never been, I encourage you to take a look at this. But at the very least, even going back to what Deshaun has mentioned, if you don't have a mastermind, if you don't have others that you can surround yourselves with on a regular basis that are help you be more creative, whether it's synthetic or creative imagination, begin to do that sooner rather than later. I know Anne has some unique ideas around that, but we're getting close to our end there as well, Anne McNeil, and I'm hating to have to finish this conversation with Deshaun.
Well, we say this all the time, Deshaun, you don't have to come back because I don't think we have not began to scratch the surface, but I will tell you, you challenged me about, I wrote it down so I can make sure that I remember it, and you said, wash and repeat. How will it change? It's always been this way. And this risk management plan, you stepped all on my feet in regards to the annual meeting, because that's exactly what I said about moving our location. But I will tell you that, as some people smile right now that have come every year and said, why are we still here? It's because we hadn't had Deshaun on the show yet. So Deshaun, you've challenged me. I'm going to look at making a change. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe we can find a place on the water for those who come down from the north in the pit of winter.
Exactly.
Almost wish we had an event planner, huh?
So everybody, please, actually the month of June is the last month for early bird registration. So yes, it's going to go up. Everything's going to go up. So please register early for that event called the International Masterminders Annual Meeting for Your Life. And Deshaun, Deshaun really challenged us today with so many, like Peter said, Deshaun-isms. And this has been so empowering. So we're going to go ahead and prepare to wrap up, because sometimes it takes us a while to land this plane when we have a guest like you, because we do tend to want to go on, Ann McNeil. So let's go around, and we'll have Galen, then Peter, then we'll come back to you and share with everybody how can they reach you, and then we'll wrap up. Galen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been an incredible conversation. I think the reason that I've enjoyed this conversation so is because it's been such a great reminder that we are not alone. I think Deshaun talked about this. We have a tendency to believe that we're the only ones experiencing what we're experiencing. We're the only ones with doubt. We're the only ones that believe because we believe. And just to see someone with the kind of success that Deshaun is having talk about the exact same things and talk about how she manages through is incredibly encouraging to me. And one of the things too from this chapter and from this conversation that I embraced is the power of acting on your ideas. We all get ideas. The question is, are you going to act on those ideas? And one of the things that I have talked about for a while with my clients is, how do you put structure around these crazy ideas, these ideas that seem to come out of nowhere? We now know that it's creative imagination. And the author says that knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized to a definite plan of action and directed toward a definite end. So one of the things that I created is this hot sheet tool that allows you to do just that. It allows you to take these creative ideas or synthetic ideas, put structure around them so that you can begin to realize the benefit and act on those creative ideas. So I would encourage everyone to go to hotsheetapp.com, and you will learn more about the hot sheet. You will learn more about how to put structure around your someday goals and begin to make those a reality. I double dog dare you to go and just check out the site and see if the hot sheet could help you bring to reality those things that you talk about doing someday.
All right. Thank you, Dr. James.
Yeah, good stuff, Galen, for sure. Good stuff, Deshaun. Excellent conversation around this imagination chapter, which is an emergency in our life. It should be an emergency in our lives, for sure. How are you tapping into your imagination? What ideas are coming to you that you just leave stillborn and not doing anything about it? What ideas or imagination is coming to your mind that you are not acting on because of your fear or your fear of what might not happen or how it might make you look, or it's embarrassing for that matter? We all have those areas of our lives. And then lastly, how are you able to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who will help reinforce this imagination, whether it is creative or synthetic, for sure? asking you to all who are listening, who are watching, to step into what you deserve, to what you're destined for. And I think some of this imagination chapter has opened up for me, and I have so many ideas that maybe it's even time for me to step on into them. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach, helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAjames, or you can find me, as Galen is so eloquently showing you, my esteemed website here, shiftyourmindset.com. I encourage you all to visit. And thank you so much, Deshawn, for being with us today.
All right. Thank you both, Dr. James and Galen. Deshawn, share with everybody how they can connect with you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. This time went by really quick. I didn't. It's the past hour, but it was wonderful to be here. I'm honored that you had me on the show. And for those of you who would like to get in touch with me, my website is winningtouch.com, and winning is spelled like my last name, WYNNING. So would love to help anyone out there who is looking to have a new concept for a conference, or they have an idea and want to know how to bring it to fruition. We do event design workshops to help you to put together your meeting design, and also full service meeting and event management. So would love to help you imagine it and then bring it to fruition. Also, I am the co-lead for the meeting and event planning certificate program that is at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. And our new module, or our new certificate program, will start again in September. So for those of you who have thought about possibly being in the event planning industry, or you just need these skills because some part of your job requires you to bring people together, we would love to have you in the fall semester of the certificate program. So thank you.
Count me in.
Love it. Yes.
Link in the chat. I do an event every week, and I know our team can definitely use this reset, refresh. Oh my goodness. We want to thank you, all of you, especially those of you that's in the chat. Just want to, again, Diane, Doretha, Colette, PSITV, Trudy, thank you. Wyman, everybody that's in the chat, and also Mr. Ferguson, thank you also. Also want to just mention a couple of things, and I like, Trudy, you said you have read the book, Think and Grow Rich, but it has been a while, worth reading again. When I get a window, yes, it's worth reading again. And for each and every one of us, please remember, it's worth reading again and again and again. And as we wrap up, my name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build stronger and better lives and businesses. You can connect with me by going to annmcneil.com. And of course, we're hosting our Niche to Be Rich. It's going to be on the 6th of September, 2023. We would love to have you connect with us. You can go to the website to get more details. But again, this, like we've all shared, is an opportunity for you to develop not just the skill sets, but tools, but also the accountability to act on your ideas. This is a very powerful principle. And as we hear and we see in our own lives each and every day, we have the ideas, but who's holding you accountable to act on them? And as we've heard, you can use future journaling. You can use a date with yourself. You can use Think and Grow Rich. You can use anything that works for you to hold yourself accountable. And until next time, we want to encourage all of you, and thanks again, Deshawn, for joining us today. We want to encourage all of you, please remember to continue to think and grow rich. See you next time.